So, before I met or became involved in this situation, and I found myself, who was I before I met this woman, before my son was abused? Who is Marky Dell? Well, somewhat of a fuck up. Come from a broken home with a mom who experienced some early mental hardship. Why is this battery low? I can't get away with this today, can I? This ain't fair. Damn it. Alright, let me start this over. Let me plug this in. Let me rechange this setup here. I can do that. I have all this stuff. You know what? I'll do that while I have the best fun sometimes in between recording. What kind of system? Hello. I'd love to give. You. Camera get mad at me? Or looking over here? Look. Here's the funniest thing. I've been homeless for a year and 2 months. Because I called about trying to do something with my kid 15 years ago, and they never called back. Why am I on the run? How is it? How is it that I'm the one on the run? What did I do? How do I take this off without? I don't know how to do this. Okay, turn this around, take that off. I'm going to put this one on the base. Here's my little setup here. I'll put this on the base, and then I'll be able to get power cord on there, so I don't have to keep on going through the low battery stuff. So go from that base this one. Okay. There we go. Oop, with my volume from my phone. Why doesn't this look like it's even? It's annoying. Okay, does this solve the problem? So I plug this cord in. It's plugged in. Battery low. Is it plugged in? Wait, it's saying 100%. Oh, it's a battery. Oh, for the. Oh, or the phone's 100%. So you need to plug for this thing. What do you do with that plug? Oh, that's a plug that's low. It's plugged here. So the question. Hello. Hello. Just put this in here. No battery. All right. There we go. Plugged in. Still saying low battery. Oh, it's plugged in. There's the charging though. What's it saying? I guess it was two different colors. I wonder which one looks better. Which camera? Probably does better. Low battery. Come on, babe. Look. The question at hand is, why did my public defender suggest in courts that they make it mandatory that I be seen by one of their own hired help? I get charged with harassment and I lose my home because the police told me to get out. It was the first time isolated incident. I'd be like, but here's what I didn't know. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania simultaneously stacked the cards against me helping my son from jump. Let me say that again. From jump, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania chose to side with a woman who tried killing my son. Now, Judge Alan Rubenstein knows that she stole my kid from me. He signed off on a piece of paper that I said not to be signed off and losing my custody. I protested the signing over of my rights, and there's a paper that was sent to Alan Rubenstein and Bucks County administrators about me saying no to terminating my parental rights. A very, very bad game of catch me if you can ensued around my life that began with my son's mother, and I have not given in to anything that they have suggested I should do. Makes it a coordinated effort against the county to cover up the fact that what they did against my son was not something new, because they've all handled it in such a good way that they've all been falling in line like good soldiers. Following Diane, who followed Tess, who followed so on. In 2007, Diane steps into my world, inserts herself, tells me I can trust her and I can help. She can help me. The same time she was helping me, she was protecting her subordinate. She was going against what the public who turned us down. The people of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, including Bucks County, elected Matt Weintraub, district attorney, to stomp out crimes like this. Matt Weintraub falls under Diane Marseglius's jurisdiction, as well as the court administration, the county administration, human resources, the employment, foster care system, Bucks County Children and Youth, which is the equivalent to child services in DIFUS, or whatever your state may do for their child protection agency. But I called the Commonwealth and reported child abuse in 2007 and never called back. Now, the clock started with my son getting help in 2003. The first of many things went unanswered. That's not on me. I was kept in the dark about accidents and terminating of care for my son that happened by his mother. Here's me being proactive, and there's her saying she's proactive. But what she never told anybody is that she decided to terminate care for him and lie about his medical history that invoked in certain things that shouldn't have come about, that came about based on her lies, and he was affected by it because nothing turned out the way that she said that she wanted to do or that we agreed upon back in 2003. Why is that important? It's important to me because it sets the tone for where we're at today. You see, when we signed physical legal joint custody, that meant something to me. That was me going to say, I'm going to be a dad, I'm going to stand up with this woman now, we're going to raise this kid together, and we're going to do it together, we're going to do it, she's going to do her time with him, I'm going to do my time. She is split 50-50, that's what we said. We're going to raise this kid 50-50. I was a successful businessman. I was making 6 figures a year. I was in my second business that I had started. I spent $50,000 in my own basement to turn her basement into a living condition that met her criteria prior to me moving in. Besides me paying the $50,000, I also spent $21,000 in rent for her for 2 years as well. Having me and my business there, I paid for her health insurance. I paid for her phone. That phone number she has now, I have it. I mean, it was mine originally. And I don't ask me why a woman who was recently divorced wasn't able to open the telephone service in her name after a divorce and a big income from that. I did that for her. I installed her front doors for her. I brought her chicken noodle soup and a housewarming plate after installing her satellite dish for her. She saw the kindness in my heart. You know, a stranger, you know, I installed her satellite. That's how I met her. She asked me to come over and install her satellite dish. I said I could do it. And then I did it. I saw her satellite dish. She was there. And then subsequently, a week or so after, whatever, she ended up getting sick. She called me saying, I'm homesick. I can't. Like, I remember this. This is plain as day. She called me up and said, I can't get this working. I said, okay, I'll stop over and get it going for you. She's just a nice guy I am. She wasn't that far. Hardly from Levittown, wasn't that far at all. So she's sick on the phone, and I'm a Christian man. You know, I believe that, you know, you kind of owe that you pay it forward. So that aside, without even thinking, man, I stopped by McCaffrey's and I picked up chicken noodle soup for her. And at the same time, I bought her a small housewarming plant because she had just moved there. She just got divorced. She had moved there, and she's new to the area, and she happened to be sick. She said she was sick. Calls me up. She's home. She wants to watch TV. Can't watch TV, so, you know, I feel bad. So she's telling me these things. So I go out and get a plant and get chicken noodle soup, bring it to her house, and going to go fix her TV. And that was it, man. That was it. That's all. I had no intentions on, after I installed the satellite dish or when she was there, I had no intentions of anything with her. I had no intentions on seeing her again. I had no intentions of making that as a plate. That was just a one and done thing. I brought it over, it was generous, and she saw that as weakness. And that I guess that how she took it, I'm not sure. Oh, here's what I know. That's what I did. How she got that I was a weak person from that I was to be preyed upon. She saw an innocent man who's out there working his butt off, honestly trying to make a living, who had friends who's has a family in Christ. I had the Forts in my life. The Jesse and John Forts were like my little brothers. Being a part of the Forts family was a blessing for me because of what traumatic things happened out of my family. And that's who I was when I met Tess Sola. This Bible This is my second or third Bible, and it's been written on. It's been written in, and it's been highlighted. It's been highlighted, written in, notes taken. It's been read cover to cover over 3 times over the 10 years. I've fasted through this. I prayed with this. I've seen God's word through this. I've read every word in this Bible. This isn't just a book to me. This is life. Through the pages here is my life, a life for me. And what I love about it, I can turn to any page and and watch what happens. It says here, whatever one is, he has been named already. For it is known that he is man, and he cannot contend with him who is mightier than he. Since there are many things that increase vanity, how is a man better? That's the question it says in Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 10. Whatever one is, he has been named already. For it is known that he is man, and he cannot contend with him who is mightier than he. Since there are many things that increase vanity, how is man any better? Well, that was found in Ecclesiastes 7 verses 10 and 11. And what that means to me is, whatever one is, he has been named already. Well, my name is Mark Edel. I don't have a middle name. That is my name. And that is who I am. And it says, it goes on to say, what is known by as he is man. I am a man. Okay? I'm a man. Identify as a man. He cannot contend with him who is mightier than he. It says in the next verse, part of the verse 10, it says, and he cannot contend with him who is mightier than he. Him is the capital H in this verse. He cannot contend with him who is mightier than he. The him in this verse to me is God in the incarnate in the flesh of Jesus Christ. Him is greater than is he. So him is mightier than he, it says in this verse. So to me it's a relation to my Father and to my God. So I'm a man who believes in the God and my respect towards God. And it says, since there are many things that increase vanity, how is man the better? Well, as far as vanity goes, I don't have subscribed to that chapter of life. Vanity is something I learned early on. The absence of vanity and then the presence of vanity. I went from being a fat, ugly child into from an ugly duckling into a beautiful swan. Being the kid who was teased, made fun of, punched, kicked, beat up just for being nice or kind, it doesn't mean that I haven't learned how to forgive people. And kids and students and fellow man. Kids when they're younger, I was picked on all the time. I was different from people. I was different in all kinds of ways. I was always new to a different school. I was always a new kid, it seemed like. Never around long enough. Every 4 years I was out somewhere else, or 2 years, we'd be moving around. I I was never around long enough to any one spot. So I never had those roots of some other people. So I had to learn how to adapt and move rapidly early on in life. whether get up and move, you just learn to just do it. So I was teased and made fun of most of my life for being fat, and then being fat engrossed in disgusting towards people's impression of you. I was always the ugly guy with the bad acne, and always teased and made fun of, which to me was normal. But the best thing that came out of all of that is I have a work ethic that's bar none. My ethics, my responsibilities for myself is, if a man don't work, a man don't eat, according to the Bible. I learned a lot working with Jack. I learned a lot of motivation. I learned how God can kick your ass into getting things started, and to respect His laws, His love. And this is not a book of laws. This is a book of love. Within the pages, it's a love story to us from our Heavenly Father. That's what this is. This is love. It's not hate. It's not meant to offend or you can't take it how you want to take it. Look, the Word was made flesh and dwells among us. Jesus came to sell all our sins. There was an issue. The Old Testament, the old laws, there was a good start. And then the Lamb of God came, and He dwelt among us. We had Christmas, we have Easter. We celebrate those triumphs and those victories. We went from being BC to be called AD as citizens of this earth. We were given Christ, and it was talked about through here. And that's why the words exist. These aren't my words. The words are just are the Spirit of God. This is God. It's not God, but it lives, it breathes, it takes on life, it answers questions, it solves life's problems. Letting God into my heart and the Spirit, knowing that God incarnate was Jesus Christ, and the Spirit came and dwelt among us. The Spirit lives, it breathes. It's no different than the wind and the air and the sun and the sky and the rain and the water and the mountains and the seas and the dirt and the sand, and it's here. It's the only planet in the universe that has an atmosphere in a biodome like this. 6,000 years old, this ball of dirt. In this day and time, this country, the way I've been treated, the way my son's been treated, I'm just a man trying to get answers. I submit to my God. I have His laws to deal with. The Bible tells me, if somebody hurts you, forgive them. Punch in the cheek, give me the other cheek. Okay? But God told me to love my enemies and forgive. Okay? All that I've done to test soul in the county, I've extended that olive branch to them. I've went to them and said, can you please change the course of the direction of not helping me help my son to turning around to helping me help my son, to validate or to let me help him be victorious in his life. And I was told, fuck you. So not only did I go to them the first time and explain that there's issues here multiple times, and they've been ignored multiple times, the Masola can't tell the truth, and she never has been able to tell the truth. Lied to the county, the people she worked with, who are important people, judges, commissioners, district attorneys, court administrators. She's gotten a call from all of these people saying Mr. Edel came at us with this. Mr. Edel came at us with this. Now I'm talking about court administrators, court personnel department. I'm talking about the what is it called? The general. What's it? What's it called? What's the district attorney of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania? Josh Shapiro? Oh yeah, Josh Shapiro's office. Attorney General, yes. Attorney General Josh Shapiro's office was notified of the child abuse that I brought to the Commonwealth's attention multiple times. That's Josh Shapiro, who's running for governor. His office, I have a text message allowing me to forward them any more information that they already have, all the information that I've given them about the child abuse that happened to my kid for the past 15 years. And their office won't even investigate the fraud that's happened out of that also. So Josh Shapiro, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Attorney General who wants to become governor, has sided with the child abuser in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's case against me. They want to charge me with harassment and intent to do harm to a son and a son's mother who was not even home at the time. Charge me by mail and not investigate the fraud that she's committed for 20 years or any one of the multiple child abuse calls that I've made. And talking to the press, I've talked to the Intelligencer, I've talked to Channel 6 ABC News. I put the reports in with them. I put the reports in with the, I met Joe, what's her name, from the Bucks County Courier Times at a rally at the courthouse one time I was called to go be a part of. I've spoken to the press. I've spoken to the media. Gave my reports to anybody that would really listen. And I've gone to the FBI and said, look, there's collusion, there's conflict of interest, they're setting a precedence here in Bucks County that needs to be addressed. That when a father, a representative of a child who's begging the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to side with, come in and look at the child, and they don't come, that's on Josh Shapiro's head. That's on Governor Wolf's head. It's under his administration. And then it falls under the president's purview too, because I went to my state senator here in Pennsylvania, well, when I was in Pennsylvania, Perry Warren's office, and went to his and came up with a collective answer to a lot of the problems I was having with child custody matters involving person of conflict of interest like myself, who was never told that they're going to side with the mother and not with the child. I was never given, based on my experience, that the Commonwealth would ever side with the abuser than the child victim. So my son was an early childhood victim, and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania chose to deny any one of my phone calls to the state, and how it was routed through that. No, not one time did any one of those times did I get a phone call back, nor did I get it from the county on down ever one time in 15 years. And here I am to say, I went to Diane nicely multiple times, trying to persuade her to do the right thing for my kid, who falls under her purview. That phone call by the Child Services never came to me. Not a voicemail, not a text message, not an email. At 2007, that died on Marge McEwen's desk. No thanks to Diane, who introduced herself to me at Perkins that year, and somehow my record became tarnished, and not one phone call that I made to the police or anybody else has ever been taken seriously. Now, does that make me sound mental? Is there another way to explain it? Well, let me try. I am a dad who loves his son. I'm a dad who named my son. His name is Joshua Vincent E. Dale. I'm the father of Joshua Vincent E. Dale. And his mother had done some really bad things to him from jump, and continued to do that. That began in 2003. It's 2022. I have climbed every mountain and gone down any valley to find out who can help me help my son. If there was a body to reach out to, I reached out to them. I've uncovered every stone. I have researched where the breakdown in communication was. I was able to retrace, investigate, and then write down all that information. That began with a woman who was unable to tell the truth to not a doctor, not a judge, not a pediatrician, not a psychiatrist, not to myself, not to herself, not to her family, not to my son, not to her, my family, not to her family. A woman of serious mental was able to change history by saying things out of her mouth that on paper happened a different way. A Commonwealth of Pennsylvania did not do their due diligence when I called them and asked them to help me help my son. A Commonwealth of Pennsylvania denied my son help. What do you call it? She left the scene of a crime. A crime happened at her home. And I called Child Services to report the crime that happened in her home 4 years before and whatnot. A crime that should have been reported because the neglect that happened out of that, my son was never cared for, and his education, his life was been spun around by a woman who has no control. Now that's not my fault. I did my job. My job was to forgive her, to trust and have faith in God that my son will be taken care of. It may be sounding like I'm exaggerating over a concussion, but he was 16 months old when a woman who was unstable and unable to process. Calling 911 is his best and first. But you have to remember, the woman was versed in all things court related at the time of his near death. At the time of his near death, she knew calling the police would have sprouted a child services call. She knew that before. That's why she never called 911. So she knew that. She's in court. She's a stenographer. A court reporter is somebody who sits there and listens to judges and lawyers and talks to defendants and plaintiffs. And she's hearing these stories and she's writing them down. And then she gets to read them back later on. This woman knew going ahead of time, calling 911 sets the bar. She makes that phone call. She either A, doesn't get into the county, or B, she gets investigated and then don't get in the county. That's what her choice is. That's what was going on at the time. Either she got into that time or she was before she worked there. But either way, they won't investigate it, even though I told them. I said, look, I called the county recently. I said, listen, find out when she started there and tell me when this happened. Here's the accident report with what was told by the pediatrician. The pediatrician, again, that's a whole other thing. The pediatrician did not like what she saw. And she did not do the mandated reporting she was supposed to do. How do I know that? Because the doctor was persuaded not to make that phone call. Because the doctor wrote the same thing twice on 2 different times. I know that's the problem because that's what's on that paper and that's what it says. that papers when that the day she took him to the pediatrician instead of taking him to the hospital and calling 911 and getting his head fixed is the day that she stopped, that she didn't know how to help him. That was a day she did not know how to help him. That was a day he needed rescuing, and I was there to rescue him, and she would not let me rescue him. She hurts him and then keeps him at the same time, and she knows she's letting me watch her do these things to him and never helps him. She's been free-range abuse for 20 years of his life. Am I trying to stop her? Not at all. I just want an MRI or a CAT scan so my kid can know what to do when he's been fraudulently told anything but the truth his whole life by her, and he doesn't know I'm on the run because I'm standing here for the truth for Josh. I've been kicked out of my own house I lived in for 14 years. I got with my lover and my ex, Matt, and he's gone too. This woman caused a sort of chaos that the county, I don't even know if they understand the magnitude of them stepping behind a woman who's got these kind of brain issues and then blindly following her. Like, I don't understand what it is that makes Josh Shapiro, when told about the fraud and neglect about my kid, doesn't want to answer that call. Or why do they want to say there's no fraud there? I can show you on paper exactly how the fraud, this is the epitome of fraud. I expelled out to the fraud department of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and they decided to say, well, there's no fraud there. And again, all of these call centers, whether it be the tip line or the district, these people are uneducated call center people. And I found that out more recently, but the phone calls that I've made over the years, talking to them, I found out that these people are not educated in crime or the law, or the law of the human law or the Pennsylvania law about what people are calling in for. So you got uneducated people answering the phone, making reports about stuff they don't know about. They don't know the law, they were not lawyers, and B, they're not medical people. So why are non-psychiatrists, non-medical doctors, non-therapists, non-social workers answering phone calls of people of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and they're uneducated, and I don't get a phone call back? Call center for tip line, when you call about your child getting abused, when you call the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania because they want you to report it, it's all over the news. It's on the radio, it's on TV. You suspect child abuse, call. We'll help you. I hear it on the radio all the time. You suspect child abuse, call this number. Anybody else here on the radio? I have. Josh Shapiro, governor, wants to be governor. No, bro. You don't get to be governor. Look what you did to my kid. I'm in a motel because the police that work for you had them come after me because I was blowing the whistle on how they didn't do their job. And I'm the one on the run? I'm not the one that should be on the run. The woman who did the abuse never got her day. Tessola is the one who committed the crime against my kid. Not Josh Shapiro, not even Diane, not even Marge. It falls on one person and one person only. The woman who was employed by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Tekla Sola, court reported to Judge Alan Rubenstein, has been allowed to steal my kid, kidnap my kid, abuse my kid, get away with doing it, and turn the sights of the Commonwealth on me without them doing their due diligence on either way. So I get beat up the first time. My son gets beat up by her. She gets beat up by 2007. He gets beat up by not having them call back. He gets beat up by her. I can't stop it. And they say, we're not doing it, we're not getting involved. Then appoint me somebody else. Appoint me somebody out of county. Don't give me Rubenstein for my judge. Give me somebody from out of county. Get somebody else and investigate this. This investigation stopped and died in Bucks County by a co-worker of Tess Sola's. That abuse phone call was stopped by somebody Tess Sola worked with. The whole system in charge of delegating on how we go about investigating child abuse was on the same woman's side. Does that make sense? Let me repeat that again. I make the phone call, no one calls back, it gets swept under the rug. That was the first one. And that same time, I get visited by Diane, and I never get a phone call back about the child abuse. How about that? Is that coincidence that that happens in that fashion at that time? I get seen like the Godfather, seen out the Godfather from Diane Marcellus, walks into my fucking Perkins and introduces herself to me as a godmother in this place, says she's there to help me, and then turns around and goes and helps that woman, tarnishes my record. The child abuse record comes in. I get Judge Rubenstein, and my son's not able to get help. Do I get violent? Bro, no. I lost my Matt, I lost my kid, I lost my family. I didn't lose anything. If I can't help my kid, I've not done my job. Because my higher power, it's my responsibility to my kid, to my God, for my kid. It's my responsibility to see to it that despite the Commonwealth has kept me out of his life for 10 years now, that they all sided up and ganged up against me using the system they all work for, using a system that they know that throwing a false charge on me throws my records in the tailspin. I had good credit back then. I was out of debt back then. I didn't have any debt back then before I was taken out of Pennsylvania, before I left Pennsylvania. I was debt free. I had my own place. I've been living there by myself for a year. I remodeled my place. I updated it. I bought new furniture. I repainted the walls. I got me new furniture. I had a brand new bed. I had a brand new couch. I was living a man by himself, 4 miles away from my son. I had my other job. I was working in a restaurant and doing a Lyft and Uber. But then I started asking questions. I started asking questions. Why y'all never help my son? Not one time. Why? And here's my argument. And here's what made me angry. You're going to help her. You help him. They didn't even do that. He's no better off. Look, there's two sides. I haven't seen my son in 5 years. My son's mad at me for stuff that I don't even know why he's mad. He's mad because the same woman who's inserted herself into every part of this government that I've been employing to help me help him. At the same time I'm asking them, they're sabotaging him. So they're not coming to my rescue. They're not coming to Josh's rescue. And that is a fact. The Commonwealth has my phone call. They knew I asked for help. They knew this woman was a psycho. They knew she was psycho. They knew I have the records. I have the doctor's records I have everything my son I got from every doctor, from everything. I wrote about it. There's about 1,200 pages I have on Google that have proof of the insanity that my son incurred on a daily basis. The insanity that went on with this woman, her inability to manufacture the truth. But what's insulting the most is all of these people I spoke to, either the FBI or state police Whenever I bring up her and the negligence that's happened with her, they don't want to talk about that thing. Now, why is that? Because that gives life to the issue. When I went to the state police recently, the Pennsylvania State Police reported me being abused by the police. It was, I don't know who I was talking to. I went to them and talked about the child abuse first, and I talked about how I was abused by police and about how her position with the working for a judge and the special privileges of not getting things investigated. And they came back with some sort of snide blanket. He blurred out like this. Officially, something like this. State trooper prepped and primed on how to do this. Officially, a court reporter holds no weight for political value or judicial value within the political system. So I don't know what you're talking about as far as her ability to have you be. And he started going off like that. I was like, bro, shut the fuck up. When the state trooper's talking like that, there's a problem. He was told something to tell me. Before this guy talked to me, I was fielded by 2 other people first. And that's the beauty of how this whole democracy works. It was a matter of me going to the state trooper. So I went there. Before I went up there, I was praying. I was like, dear God, help me. You know, he's 20 now, or he's 18 now. He's over 18 now. And I'm going to the state police. I'm like, bro, I was just accosted by this police officer just last week. You know, at the same time, I also had this issue with my son not being dealt with, and nobody's helped me. I've gone all these places for 15 years and talked to them. I'm like, bro, how can this be? So I'm there trying to make another report on the child abuse because I did that to Yardley, and I got kicked out and insulted by Officer Glock April before I was arrested. But in between harassment, the 2 years of harassment, I went again to the police to try to tell them April 8th, 2021, and finally made a report in person, because out of 15 years, no one ever called back. So I go into Yardley, and I was first seen by Chief Kelly, who told this Glock person to get rid of me, and they did. And I have a report number. They open and close it the same day, and then lied about it by the chief of police. He told me that they investigated fully. I should trust him. That there's no child abuse there. A judge has seen it. A lawyer has seen it, and there is no child abuse there, Mr. Riddell. Take my word for it. Trust me. I said, well, then, Chief Kelly, where is the MRI and CAT scan that says that there's no abuse or no physical effects of that abuse happened to my son? Because I was told by Officer Golden that there's no evidence. I said, did you do an MRI and CAT scan, Sergeant Golden? And he said no. So did Police Chief Joseph Kelly from Yardley Borough Police, said that he never did an MRI CAT scan. Then if he couldn't get it 20 years ago, and I'm asking for him last year to get an MRI CAT scan to make sure that the damage isn't there, and they're investigating child abuse, and they don't go take my kid, pick him up, and take him to go get an MRI or CAT scan. When I'm calling, I'm in their face saying, look, there's a reason to go get an MRI CAT scan, and they say they don't do that, but they say, trust me, there's an investigation, and there's nothing there, Mr. Riddell. Trust me. The police said, trust me, Mr. Riddell. Chief Kelly had me on the phone. I'm sitting in the parking lot in Hamilton Township, New Jersey Mall, Warrensville Mall, right by the Roost Chris Steakhouse. There's a hotel there. I'm in the parking lot. It was a summer day. It was around 3 or 4 o'clock. I'm on the phone, speakerphone with Chief Joseph Kelly, and he's saying, Mr. Riddell, stop calling. If you call your son one more time, I'm going to charge you for every freaking phone call that you make to him. I said, officer, I'm just trying to help my son. Can you help me help my son instead of worrying about if I'm calling him? Can you help me connect with my son so I can go get him to help? Let me give him the information. Let me give you the information. So I do. I share that information with the police. They asked me to send them information, so I do. I come forward. I say, here it is. Here's what you need to get started. So I give him that, and I give him just a little piece of it because I'm smart enough to give him everything. They say, Mr. Riddell, send us stuff. Here's an email address, Mr. Riddell. Please send us information about the child abuse. Great. Thank you. I do it. Do I hear back? Nah, bruh. Now, the time from April I made the abuse in person with Officer Glock, who the same one who months later kicks me out, intimidates me there. My first interaction with Officer Glock was him lying to my face. The first thing I did when I sat down with him, I said, do you know who Tess Sola is? Officer says, no clue. I don't know who she is. How about Judge John Rubenstein? Nope, don't know who he is either. I said, okay. That's how it's going to be, huh? Officer Glock doesn't know who Tess Sola is. So as I sit down with him and show him on my phone, I pick up my phone and I go through and say, look, here's where I called the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in 2007, told him about this child abuse right here that you're seeing here is what I called for back in 2007. Here's my phone. Scroll, take a look at it, officer. You weren't around for this, but here, let me show you. You're going to investigate this. You're going to take my son and go get an MRI CAT scan, because that's what I'm asking for you to do right now, sir. Can you help me get my son there? Officer Glock. I start to speak, tell him exactly what happened, what was transpiring. I was able to investigate and put things together, look at brain traumatic injuries for children. I was able to Google the effective ways to manage concussions and the treatment for afterwards, so that you get the brain and you have to know what's going on first, and you do that by a test. It's called MRI. I know it's new. I'm explaining what's happened to my son and how it's affected his life and how it disappeared that day and how that never came up again and how there was fraud against his account and how she lied to the doctors and lied to have a different outcome. And hearing him try to explain this, the guy says to me, Mr. Riddell, are you seeing a psychiatrist by any reason, by any chance? I said, no. Are you under mental distress at all? I said, no, sir. He starts accusing me of, in the middle of me saying to him, look, I've been talking about this for 15 years with your people, your people's people, up here. I start up here, and you're down here. I understand that talking to him is fruitless, but it sets the example of what the chain is. So me not getting a phone call for 15 years, talking to him, he spills it. They know all about it. I have never had a police officer insult me to my face and ask me if I have mental illness. And I have been in front of the police, unfortunately, lots of times to talk about her. And I've been in there when I've had issues with people. And I've never talked to any police officer about the charges that happened to me, the 3 charges that have on my file. I've never spoken to a policeman about it. They never gave me the courtesy of finding out before I was charged. Not one time before I was charged nor afterwards was I ever Mirandaized by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for the stories that I've said. I've been held on over for trial has been postponed 4 or 5 times. In lieu of me getting a psychological evaluation by well, let me put it this way. I've done my research, and it come to find out that the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania employs Lenape Foundation, who are the same ones in the day that the officer charged me. Came at me, harassed me. He called Lenape that day, and now my public defender wants me to publicly shame myself into going to talk to their therapist about what's wrong with me. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong, bro. I went to my son's house, they weren't there. Why am I being charged? Well, what does that have to do with me? Like, I went to an empty house and you charged me. she lied to my son about my intent. She lied to the police about my intent. They don't know my intent. If I was intent to do harm, I've had 20 years to go over there and go beat her ass. Why would you ever say that I went over there with an intent to do harm to my son or her by wanting to talk about how we need to get him the help he needs? And for that, I've received my credit is shot. I'm extended my credit. I've been living out of my car and living the hotel to hotel to hotel. I've had to go get a $20 a month, $25, $26 a month Planet Fitness membership so I can go take showers in between the time I was staying in my car. I had a beautiful home, car, a house, garage, neighbors, friends. I was fully loaded. I had friends. I was friends with my neighbors, friends, and people down the street and up the street. People I'd known for many years. People knew people. Nobody got an issue. There's no police calls from my house. For me. I'm a card-carrying, Bible-thumping, God-country family man, and I just got charged because I want to go help my son, and the Commonwealth says no. Well, it's my right to go get my kid help. I don't give a fuck how old he is. I'm here because the Commonwealth decided to intervene and insert themselves into my life, and I don't need them in my life. She does because she needs a protection. I don't because I know my rights. So, based on my rights and me having to go and be run out of town and be bullied by a policeman who's afraid, who was in fear, who used rage to get me back into my car that day, I went to go hand him documents that they were asking for. Proof as far as the abuse they asked for, I go deliver it, and then they charge me, and then they go say I'm insane by calling Lenity. It was so poetic that it was so done in such a poetic fashion. It was like they'd done this before with other people. I was like, how can they do it like that? I was like, wow, who would have thought to call Lenape right after I get charged, right after a police harasses me, they call Lenape. Wait, he's pushing me back to my car. He's sending me on my way. I was told by Officer Wilson that morning to drop off documents. I go in and drop them off, and then I'm being pushed back into my car and being bullied by a policeman who was sitting there looking with his hand on his gun, ready to pull out. Did I tell you about the time I went there another time, and they pulled a 4-legged dog on me when I knocked on the door, and they asked to talk to them? They wouldn't come out without pulling out a 4-legged dog. Officer of the law pointed right at me, just because I wanted to talk about my kid. I wanted to talk about why I have a harassment charge against me from the year before in 2019. I'm just a guy asking a question about my kid, and they pulling out a 4-legged dog and pointing him at me like I'm a threat. A threat? A threat. I live 4 miles away from that woman. I lived there for 14 years, and I have yet to go over there and raise a voice. If anything, I should be charged with peace. I went over there with 2 bottles of Apothic Red about 2017 and gave them to her as a peace offering. Said, hey, let's forget about the past. Let's move on. Let's move forward. And you know what she said? I didn't get the police calling me then. I should have. Where's that police report at? I went over there with 2 bottles of wine, and she didn't want to accept them, and I made her take them because I wanted to move forward and forget about the past and go forward. Where's my police record? Why did the police get called for that? There's a man dropping off wine and trying to be nice to me. There's a man at my door. He says he wants to move on, and he's at peace, and he wants us to move together for our son's benefit. What the fuck is he doing at my door? Can you imagine if I'm, officer, I need 911. Yeah, what's emergency? This man's at my door with 2 bottles of wine asking me to forgive him. Or that he wants to forgive. He wants to move on. Forget about the past. He wants to forget about the past and forget that I stole the kid away from him, and he's here now to present peace. and different options instead of going out the bad way. He wanted to bring things together. Officer, what's the charge? What can we charge him with? Where was that? I got the receipt. How many times I've said that to her? Let's move on from the past and let's move on. You know what she said? Fuck you every time. But what's worse is the county, the people who take an oath of office, the people in the county who take an oath of office, who neglect their dereliction of duty and allow the abuse to happen, they don't side with the kid. That's what I'm asking for. She's a white woman who terribly abused him in all those, physically, the two physical ways and the mental, in every way. The kid has had his life turned upside down by a woman unable to tell the truth. And now the whole county backed a woman with a backwards answer, trying to make me look like I be the crazy one after all this time, when I was one making the phone calls, arranging for their assistance in helping me, and they said fuck you back in 2007. Fast forward to 2022, and here I am sitting in the hotel room documenting my life that has been upside down by the police for almost 3 years now, and nobody's helping me help my son. Josh Shapiro for governor. What about my son Joshua Udell? Who's going to help him? When the whole county and the whole state turns their back on you, who do you go to? United Nations? Who am I supposed to go to? Why didn't anybody ever come to me and say, you know what, Mr. Udell, thank you for the phone call, fuck yourself, and then just be done with it? Well, I mean, why did they just have to say you'll get a phone call back, or we'll follow up, blah blah blah? No case number, no nothing. Was that planned? What kind of game was being played there? To not call me back and to not help me help my son? What kind of message does that send? As civilians of this country that wants people to come forward and to go confess what you see, okay, call the child protective hotline so you can help the kid, huh? And then when you call, they say fuck you. I'm totally confused. Can somebody please help me understand that? The first fuck you, I didn't understand. The second fuck you, understood. The third time I called, the fuck you just rings even more. But to charge me with harassment? Because what does that purpose serve? Because I was calling my kid, because I love him, because I'm trying to protect him, because he needs an MRI or a CAT scan to figure out where the damage is, and I get the harassment charge. Now mind you, there was nobody home when I went over there, and I got charged. There's nobody at her house. She was away. He was away. And I get papers by mail after I go, and I go report this abuse to Lower Makefield Township Police Department that same day. I made a videos the day that I was threatened by the police and harassed. I made videos. I reported Lower Makefield Township. I eventually reported it to state police. I reported it to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the Attorney General's office. I reported these incidences to the appropriate people. I went to the district attorney's office. I sat there and I sat with Caitlin Dryden and I said to her, listen, there's a problem in Yardley Borough. The police officer's acting nuts. He's saying things that are not right, and I know this because I know police and I know what goes on here. I've never been charged with anything. I don't have a record. I have a DUI. I have speeding tickets. Okay, minor. I've never had criminal charges against me. I'm 52 years old. And what kind of crime was I doing? A crime of love? Like, I never went after her. She lives 4 miles away from where I lived. She stole him, and I knew that she did, and she knows she did, and she pretended out, and she told her family I walked away, but she stole him. She told everybody I walked away. Far from the truth. She stole him. She used a judge. She never told people the truth. She's not capable of telling the truth. But why does Josh have to suffer? That's my question. Why does he have to be the one who's suffering? Him and I had such a great relationship for so many years, and he's forgotten it because he has brain damage. So he's not expected to remember all of that stuff. And that's what brain damage does. But she caused that brain damage. And she's free at large to do it again. And this is the stuff that I do know about. And this is stuff I found out by accident. It's just stuff that should never have made light of day. This stuff that should have been buried years ago. But I got to it, and I exposed it, and they said, fuck you. The media won't even touch it. I emailed them my journal, and they have every piece of it, and they're probably going to use it against me. I've went to everybody. I've talked to Joe Kavanaugh from Bucks County Courier-Times. I've told her what the judge did in my case. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to make light of it. They don't want to make a story out of it. Nobody wants to touch my case. Not a lawyer. I can't even get a lawyer to represent me against the Commonwealth. I've made 20 phone calls to people in Pennsylvania. Nobody will represent me. Because of the nature of the case that they're doing against me. They're doing one of those backhanded, back alley kind of deals that they've been sabotaging me for the past 15 years. And they're doing backhanded deals and trying to bury me under their own red tape, while at the same time as they're letting this lady go about her own business and letting her get away with the crime that she's committed, and nobody's ever held that accountable. The bottom line is to help me help my boy. Joshua Vincent Edel, born 4502. To me, Joshua, to Mark Edel, and to Tekla Sola, Corda, her married name. He was born to Tekla Corda. Her Sola is her married, or is her birth name. Corda is what's the name of my sons. Burst. I gave her everything and she wanted more. When she got more, she wanted more. Look, she wasn't able to take care of the kid. She was born with one of those genetic that doesn't work like most women. Maybe I should have started out with that. She's a woman who doesn't have that nurturing effect. She doesn't have that nurturing. She is the abuser and bully, and she bullied me out from the beginning, and she bullied Josh out of a fair upbringing and a fair start to something that I had so much love to give and so much experience to spend with this boy. And to do those things, I was denied and he was denied, all because of a woman took this road that was unheard of, and it's so unheard of. This is so uncommon of a situation to discuss that it doesn't make sense half the time for myself, and I've lived in it. Had my son had a successful outcome, I wouldn't be sitting here making a video. Had the choices been made that there was a judge decided to sign his, knowing that that woman abused that kid and almost killed him, gave him my rights to her, and I told her no. No. And she went in there and she usurped her authority and she got special privileges, and she's been special privilege after special privilege after special, but nothing has been done to help my son. If any of the past 20 years was there to help my son, I wouldn't be sitting here in a hotel room trying to live the next day. By the way, for the record, Eagles Super Bowl win this year. Big Dick Nick Sirianni. Going to take us all the way. My prediction? Howie Roseman did a great job organizing a great team. I believe in Jason Kels. I believe that 2 cases of beer is going to help us win that Super Bowl that Coach Sirianni sent to his house last year. No doubt. Jalen Hurts is my number one. I got his jersey. I'm an original owner. Jalen Hurts, number 2 jersey. Okay. Jalen Hurts, current quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. He wore this number before he was made the first quarterback, succeeding Carson Wentz. The game against the Saints, the Eagles played that year. They pulled Carson Wentz out, and Jalen Hurts played. I bought the number 2 Jalen Hurts jersey because I believed in the underdog. I believed in our Eagles. I believed in Howie. I believed it was going to be right. I believe Carson Wentz was a mistake that happened to the Philadelphia Eagles that Jalen Hurts is going to make right. And he's shown that so far. He's shown promise, along with the whole team being a great team to work together. Offense, defense, special teams. You see it every day. They come into play, they come into work, hard, they're determined, they're going to make the work job, they're going to do the job. And they go in there with every game with that whole mindset. No pride, they just going in there with doing their job. That's the heart that I love about the Eagles. They're the underdogs. They've been for a long time. We come from a city of brotherly love. We have come from a city of history. We're going to host the soccer thing in a year or 2 or 3 years with the World Soccer over at the Link. We're going to have the eyes upon us. The world's going to be upon us. We're doing good with baseball. We're in the playoffs now. The Philadelphia Phillies are in the playoffs. We're going to, they're in the playoffs. The Eagles are going to go to the Super Bowl. We're going to have the eyes of America on this, on the beginning of where America began. Shortly, again. It's great for us. It's great for our area. It's great for our economy. It's great for America. Go back to the roots, where it all began, Philadelphia. It's where the Declaration was signed, right there. I'm right across the bridge from there. Because we have a republic, and that's what it stands for. I'm a patriot. I'm not a isolated incident. I'm a statistic. I've been abused by the system and abused by that woman. I've been bullied, beat up, kicked, knocked down, but spit out, lied about. Look, I'm still standing here in saying I forgive. I forgive Diane. I forgive Marge. I forgive Chief Kelly. I forgive Officer Glock. Because I know that the mental issues that woman suffers, because I've documented them through the years. And I've created solutions of problems within the domestic relations child support system. I went to our state senator, Perry Warren's office, with the solutions to problems that I've had within the judiciary system, within the child custody solutions, so that no child like mine would ever be lost again. I've learned how to see where a pathological liar can lie on paper. I've documented. I've done the research. I've done the work. That's what a father does when he doesn't get the help he needs. He goes into proactive mode and he finds out the solutions or why things happen the way they did, but then also how to solve the problem at the same time. That is a smart person, if I may say so, humbly. When they said, fuck you, I came up with solutions. I did my homework. I created a model that would help other kids in this time when women are beating the crap out of the babies and the men in their life, where men are being so undervalued and underappreciated. We're just basically sperm donors by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania just to produce more babies. Now, I did my job, but United Nations needs to step in and help me now, because the United States of America has chosen to turn its back against a civilian that needs our help, and that was Joshua Vincent Edel in 2003 and 7, and so on. So with that, I'm just a man who's making a video talking about why I'm in this hotel room and wondering why the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania chose to suck with a child abuser and never open up that can of worms. So by them never opening up that case and never giving it any sort of light whatsoever, they've made the case where they've heard me talk. I've talked myself into this sort of appearance of a psychopath in their terms, but apparently all what they say is what matters, not the truth. And I learned that from them. They don't know what the truth is either, because they haven't ever talked to me. Not one time with any officer that I've been charged two times, have I ever spoken to any officer about my side of the story that's happened. Now, traditionally, before you get charged, usually both sides come together. They speak to a police officer, and then they charge or not charge, and that's usually how it's done. In my case, a woman made a phone call to the police, which the records are, I don't know if it's a 911 or personal call. That's never happened. I've never gone through the system. I'm in the system for over a year and a half, almost a year and a half, so maybe in 2 months, and the police officer never spoke to me about her call to them about her needing their help to stop me from going to her house and knocking on the door for getting help from my kid, because that was told to Officer Glock and Sergeant and Captain Kelly. Nobody ever stepped in and helped me at no time ever to help me stop her, even before and after she stole my kid. So all the reports that I made prior to her stealing my kid, the police went to the police, and she was threatening and harassing and using her status of position within the courts to threaten me that I should not fight for my son. The threatening phone calls that I saved and willingly to turn over to Commonwealth of Pennsylvania as proof that she was abusing me prior to her stealing my kid. The threatening phone calls that I would get from her. I went to the police and said, "Here they are. Let's do something." And they said no. That's what they said. And I had those police reports. I kept copies of them. It's very important to stay true to your goal. My goal is to be a father to help my son, and that's what I was created to do. My biology says to protection of my kid. That's my makeup. That's who I am. I was given a gift from God. Joshua was a gift. I was entrusted to protect him and to raise him and to set him on the path of being a godly man and a good civilian and a good citizen of this here United States. And my job was stopped by a woman with a mental condition that the Commonwealth decided to choose to oblige. Even when all the evidence that I went to the district attorney's office and said, I want to turn over state's evidence about a child abuse and about a crime that happened to my son. And they said, fuck you. Multiple times. So I keep the faith. I trust in God. I believe that good's going to come out of this. I pray for Diane and Marge and the police. I've had nothing but good things to say prior to this about the police I've been in touch with in my lifetime, in my history. This is a very isolated incident. It's a small town law enforcement that went awry. They showed evidence of that by the continual lies to my face over the telephone and in person, by intimidation, by harassment, the same things I got from Tess Sola for 15 years. Her threatening, harassing, and her bullying, and her sexual, remarks about my sexual orientation, my remarks about the men in my life, the men about the life, accusing men of that they're in my life about things that they didn't do and they wouldn't do. This woman doesn't know. The only thing she knows how to do is create chaos. Now, the only way she'd be able to get away with all of this was due diligence. The lack thereof of due diligence from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania on down to Marge McEwen, and then even to the lower level policemen who refused to investigate one lick of child abuse that I've ever brought to their attention. So it never happened. Anybody want to see the paper that never happened? I got it. I got a copy of it. I got lots of copies. You want to see a copy? I give it to you. Send it to you. I mean, not one phone call. Does that sound like I'm angry at the county or the state? I hope not. That's not the intention. I've actually went to Diane and called her and said, listen, let me help you exonerate yourself. And she said, fuck you. I went to Marge McEwen and said, let me help you exonerate yourself. She said, fuck you. I went to the doctor, the pediatrician who wrote that paper, and said, listen, I know that you suspected child abuse on that paper. What did she say that turned you against Josh? That you didn't make that phone call to the reporting agencies like you were supposed to? You were a must-report doctor. You should have called that in, child abuse. You knew it. You wrote it the second time on that piece of paper. You knew there was child abuse there. You know how I know, doctor? Because you wrote it in your own handwriting twice. You wrote it one way in the light hand while you were seeing him in person, and you wrote it the second time because you were questioning him. Because your pen point is deeper into the paper. I can tell that by the writing on that piece of paper because I've investigated it, doctor. Do you want to change? Would you like me to reenact this on YouTube? Can somebody reenact this to show everybody else that the velocity that my son hit his brain, that he was almost to death? Can somebody take those parameters, take a 16-month-old and reconstruct that day where she was in that house in relation to him and the velocity that he hit based on the criteria that she self-incriminates herself on that paper happens on her care? Can somebody do that? I can post the papers about what was done, but the doctor clearly was either paid off or harassed or said, you will get protection from us if you don't make that phone call to must report. But Miss Sola knew that. She knew that it was a job of the doctor to must report because that's the law, and she's familiar with the law. So a woman who knows all about the law, abuses my kid, then hides behind the same amount of law that is meant to help protect my kid, and then they protect her instead, and then they come after me instead. I wish it was a fake story, but it's a true story. And it's Josh's story. It's not my story. I'm just a dad who loves his kid, even though his kid don't want nothing to do with him. And what the worst part was, last time Christmas last year, I was sitting alone. I was in Atlanta. I was doing DoorDash when I was chased out. I started working across America doing DoorDash. I was in Atlanta, and it was Christmas, and I was crying my fucking eyes out in a Kroger's in Atlanta. And near Marietta, and I was crying my eyes out, going get ready to go to the hotel room. I was trying to pick out food to eat, and my kid don't even know I'm down here in Atlanta, hiding out because I love him, and he has no idea I'm going to spend Christmas all alone, wishing that I could at least talk to him somehow, some way. I could just talk to him. And it's funny, simple talk with her or him, that language out of my mouth has never been, I can show you evidence of all of that nice talk that I've been doing for so long that's made me stronger of a human being. I'm not vengeful. I don't wish any ill on anybody. I'm not out to get, that's not even who I am. Vengeance isn't mine. Revenge, none of that is in my life. Mine's about healing and about letting nature take its course. I have a responsibility to my son, spiritually, physically, emotionally, morally, and humanity, to help guide him in a way. That's my responsibility as a father. Anybody going to get in the fucking way with that, you're going to get fucking hurt. I mean that in love. Now, the fact that I've never raised a hand and I've never touched that woman speaks volumes to those who don't understand how I can do that. And the simple fact is that I'm not an angry person. I trust that God's going to take care of this. And I look at, when I say God, I look at my Bible and I say, well, God's going to take care of this. The truth's going to come out. They can't keep on doing it. They can't keep covering up something and putting charges on me and going down this road. When you watch the county make mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake and prolong this and make this worse, they're not in any better position. They actually have judges on the record. I pulled every transcript and have them certified by the county. Every time I was in the court, I made sure that every one of my transcripts were certified, that I was called into court for this harassment charge that never got talked about, and now they're trying to do the other. And I have the certified transcripts of them telling me I'm going to be 302 November 22nd, 2022, 11/22/22. I'm going 112222. I'm going to be 302, where I'm going to be put into an institutional center to be evaluated, because my public defender chose that for me based on the okay with the county, with the prosecution. Now, of course, but with the evidence that I had that suggested that I was free and clear, could have won that right from day one, that would have made sense. You know, fighting I have nothing from my attorney ever talking about all the things that I had spoken to him about to get us ready for court. He used it and it went the other direction. I have it on court record. Thank you very much, my public defender. You are now in violation of the law. You are now cited. The judges will be cited. There's statutes that don't allow the judges, or they're passing the judges around like they ragdolls. This one's on the record. This one's on the record. This one, not one judge is the same, and they just prolonging the inevitable. But when both of my public defender and my paid attorney sides with the Commonwealth, then there's a problem. There's conflict of interest with my first attorney, Carla Rosado. She used to work for Judge Rubenstein, and Tessola knew her personally. She was my first attorney who represented me for the first harassment charges from the year before from Sergeant Golden, when I said to my son's mother, I'd like to sit down and talk with him and you, and let's be a family and talk to him and set him in the right direction. And they said, fuck you, we're going to send you with a harassment charge, and I did. All that over text message. That was dropped, but said on my record. I didn't leave well enough alone, because they expected me to be bullied. They expected me to bow down. They expected me to shut the fuck up and go away and mind my business and don't bring it up. And I'm here saying, I don't want anybody to know this. I don't want the world to know that my son was almost dying. Because I'm still waiting to recreate that. I'm still trying to help him piece this together that he has no knowledge about or no wants to deal with any of this. But somehow I'm looked upon as the mentally disturbed person because I want to help my kid. I'm only, if anything, I'm owed a phone call, and this should never have been past that conflict of interest in 2007. The phone call should have been made back to me either way. Somehow this should have been investigated. That was in the Commonwealth's range to say yes or no. They chose no. They chose to, from the get-go, punch me in the face with a conflict of interest and doing everything below board and scheming and lying, cheating. So they slide the scale of justice to their favor, and they still can't win. Because I have not lost my temper, I have not done anything wrong. I went and volunteered the information to help them prosecute a child abuser and a woman who committed a crime, and they've said to me, fuck you. So what do? I guess I'll find out in November if I'm going to be 302'd, and then I guess, I'm not sure what happens after that. I've never been in a situation where, I'm either just shut the fuck up or I go and lose my rights as a civilian here. The court's going to decide whether or not I'm worthy of being institutionalized at this point in my life. Institutionalized because I love God and love my son and love my family, and they don't want me to talk about it. They've been trying to silence me. They've had their knee on my neck for years. They've literally had their knee on my neck, and I said I can't breathe, and nobody's helped. So I don't want this to go viral. I don't want the world to know my business. I don't care. I don't want to know. I don't want to tell anybody about my business. I don't want Diane Marseglius to be ousted and lose her job. I don't want Marge McEwen to lose her pension. I don't want Captain Chief Joseph Kelly of Yardley Borough to lose his job and his position. I don't want Matt or Brian Halesworth or Brian Hagsworthy or even Matt Weintraub to lose his job as district attorney. I don't want these people to lose their job. I want these people to commit to doing the right thing. I want them to, and somehow, all the people I've spoken to over 15 years, I don't want any ill to happen to them. I don't want them to lose their job. Because I know bad information went to good people. But the only thing is, where I'm struggling with is the fact that they were given the opportunity to come on board even after the fact, and they said, fuck you. Now listen, I issue no ill will whatsoever to any of the county employees, even Shapiro running for governor. I don't think he should be governor. All this happened under his watch. All this happened under Governor Wolf's watch. People throughout the county squashed it. Throughout the state squashed it. Did it happen or did it not happen? That's the question. So what I have to offer is I have all of this information that I've compiled for 15 years. I've written about a crazy woman who I've forgiven, who I had a child with, not knowing that this woman was going to act a fool and screw up my kid. I expected a white woman to do what white women do and nurture and love your kids and to fulfill them to be better. I was not expecting the opposite, where she took from him and his life and has put him in the worst situation he's ever been in, and he doesn't know which way is up. That's not success for my kid. Him hating me because of what she told him I said, and he doesn't understand what that comes with because he's only known her in that way, is a problem. that needs to be addressed, that I'm here to do the work with my son to help get him into that right mode. My job is to, A, get my kid, bring him in, we get him tested with an MRI or CAT scan. We see that, we show that to the neurologists and the specialists, and we go from there, and we see where the damage is still in his head, so we can, I can't do that with him. I can't get him on the phone. I can't reach him. I'm not allowed, if I go to that house, I get arrested. I'm not allowed to show my face over there. If I do, I get arrested again. Really? Arrested. I didn't think it could happen the first time. So, what I've come out of this is, for all of this time, for all of these years, it's all about watching me act a fool and try to get me to, you know, they've been gathering sound bites from all of my phone calls to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Child Abuse Hotline. They have my sound bites from them. They have my sound bites from talking to Joe Kavanaugh from the media, from the local press. My emails with Shane Fitzpatrick or Fitzgerald from the same Courier Times, emailing him information about these things with the judge and with the courts and what these things happen. They've got all my information. They have all of my recordings. They have my voice. They have all of the records. They didn't do nothing about it. So they have. So what they did was they took all that information for 15 years about what I was doing, how I was trying to help my son, and they're going to turn it around and make me sound like I'm the fucking asshole when they never answered the first phone call. And she intimidated a doctor back in 2003, and she lied to me about it. She lied to CHOP about it. She lied to the pediatrician. She lied to the therapist, the psychologist, everybody. That's not a recipe for success, but I've been trying to raise my flags to CCS and doing things the right way, the way I'm supposed to as a civilian here in the United States of America, by going the right path. And the United Nations doesn't know how tragically broken this system is of custody and or matters that are of sensitive nature. They don't give two shits about my kid, and I do. I'll say it one more time. They don't give two shits about my fucking kid, but I do. Call me crazy, get me 302, that's fine. I will surrender my civilian rights. They already took before even seeing a judge for this crime. This is a crime. I committed a crime. I went to the house, nobody was home, and I got charged. They took my card, my right to carry. They took my right to carry permit the day that they picked me up, because I had a warrant out for my arrest for not, because I was never home when I was charged. I left Pennsylvania, and I never opened up the envelope about my being charged about police. I left the Commonwealth right away, and not knowing I was arrested, I left. I got out, and then Diane sent, according to records, she sent her dogs after me when I called her up, and she didn't want me to talk. She called her sheriffs up to come to my house. I found out in the record. They tried to threaten and intimidate me after the fact. It's in the record. It's in my transcript that Diane, like the godfather, sends out the sheriff's department to my house because I called her asking for her help to help me help my kid. She sent the sheriffs over to shut me the fuck up. Who the fuck is she? Is she the godfather? Who? Why does my police reporter say that Diane? Now, where was you know who did make it in there? My phone calls to Matt Weintraub, District Attorney of Southeastern Pennsylvania. That wasn't part of my record. My other part of my record was Marge McEwen's phone calls I made to her were not a part of my transcript. Those reports weren't there. But Diane calling the sheriff's department to send them to go threaten me was in there. Tell me that's not a problem. And I wasn't even around for that. I was in Atlanta. I wasn't even in the state. When Officer Glock told me to get the fuck out, I was a good boy, officer. I was left the state. I packed my car and left, and my sister come pick up my things there, officer. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. When the white policeman tell the white man to go back up in your car and to get up out of here and never come back, he left. You see, I was treated just the way I'm talking the way he was treating me. Officer Glock got into my face and told me to get the fuck out of here, don't ever come back. He threatened me, pushed me back towards my car. I made it official. They didn't want to hear it. Told the DA, told the boss, told Laura Makefield, told the state police, and you know what happened? Nothing. God bless America. May everybody have a peaceful life. I ask for none of this. I only ask for my son's safety and health. And I can't even get that. Am I better? Not at all. Angry? Nope. I'll never raise a hand. I'm just using my words. That's my job. Use my words and report what I'm supposed to report. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? Now, when the United Nations finds out that the crimes have happened against me and my son first, and then me, and how the civil rights part of my life isn't actually panning out the way it's supposed to be, I don't want civil unrest to happen. That'd be the wrong thing. What we need to do is address it, and what we're not doing by not answering phone calls, not addressing it. So, in that to be said, may the Commonwealth's best efforts come November 22nd, when they come for me and they say, Mr. Riddell, we're going to commit you because you've been trying to protect your son for the past 20 years, I'm ready for it. I'll go willingly. I'm not going to challenge it. They want to 302 me. We're trying to protect my kid. Go ahead. Go ahead, Commonwealth. You're in the law. You write the law. You obey the law, right? It's your job. You're going to uphold the law because I broke the law. The law say, wait, what did the law say? What did they charge me with? They charged me with harassment with intent to do harm and stalking. And harassment with the intent to do harm to an empty house. And that's when I got charged. And there was nobody home. And I never was Mirandaized. I never saw the police officer. I don't even know who the charging police officer is, to be honest with you. It might be Officer Corporal Clark. I never met him in person. Really, there's a whole that whole police thing needs its own segment by itself because of all of the wrong things that they've been doing against me and lying, and all that deserves its own segment of what they've gone through. But the long story short is that I've been volunteering to come forward about the crime that's happened to my kid for the past 15 years. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania said, fuck you. And that's where we're at. And I have to go from place to place. I've been until November 22nd, and I get a new home. The Commonwealth is going to provide me with food, shelter, and a place to live, all the medication I could use, in hopes to never letting the story get the breath of air. And as long as the media has chosen to bury the story, and as long as the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has decided to bury the story, when this video goes on the internet, perhaps change will happen, that the laws could be abided by, that we can go back to the Constitution instead of, guilty and proven innocent. We go back to innocence and proven guilty. Why did I lose my right to drive for Uber? Why did I lose my right to have my home? My rights were squashed. I was chased out of Commonwealth, Pennsylvania by Officer Glock. He gave me an ultimatum. He also threatened me face to face. I can't change any of that. They did that. My job is to just report it. And what hurts me the most is that recording this is the last thing in the country that I grew up loving and proudly swearing an oath to my whole life. I've never let this disparaging thing ever, this whole thing with the police and the system, it's never changed my heart towards the love of this country. As a matter of fact, as a patriot, I love the fact that I've kept calm through all of their empty threats and lies, just like hers. I learned that from her, how to keep calm a long time ago. So whatever they're going to bring up to me, they can't scare somebody who's not scared. I'm not afraid. And I've done nothing wrong. And if somebody can say that that was a wrong thing to do, that going to try to help my kid, when all I want to do is get in the motorhome and go cross country and teach my son about every state and every capital in this country, and I want to travel cross country with my son and show him how great this country is. I don't own a motorhome. I own a Jeep. I have no property. Everything I have is in the suitcase right here. I've been living from hotel to hotel to Walmart for a year and 2 months because they don't want to investigate the child abuse. And they want to come after me instead and threaten me and threaten my way of life, my life, liberty, and my pursuit of happiness. I'm supposed to bow down because they tell me to. And I say, fuck you, that's not my rights. Fuck you. I know my rights. But they're going to beat it into me, one way or the other. Either I'm going to take it, slowly beating me over the past year and 2 months, because no lawyer will represent me or my case of civil rights abuse, because they control the narrative. They control the places, the things, they control it all. They control my public dummy who can't defend me, who should not use any one of the words that I've given him to help defend me. And that's my right as a civilian, and that's my right as a citizen of these here United States, to be representative and to have the right to. There's so many coercive pieces that have been missing. I've never seen my son face to face with the accusations to even go through those things. There's so many different things that missed through this whole thing that they just letting it skate through because they're all a part of the same system. But this is isolated. Is it? Does the world know that they're covering up my son's crime? I do. But they don't want you to know. Joshua Vincent Edel, I love you. And I know a lot of bad things were told to you about me that just aren't true. And I know about our history. And I love you to death. Even though you hate me, you don't want to talk to me, you don't. He was always loved by me. I love that boy with all my heart. His face, my face lighting up, seeing him eye to eye, seeing him, loving him is what I did for those 12 years with honor, with dignity, with respect. My relationship with him never suffered until she stole him. For good. You played dirty, they played dirty, they all played dirty, and they all want this to go away by putting me in the 302. Well, America,